Whoa. AI news has been everywhere this week, huh? OpenAI, Apple, and then all these specialized AI models popping up left and right. It's a lot to cover.
That's been wild.
It really has. So, ready to dive in?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Okay, so OpenAI first. You're really shaking things up with this whole OpenAI O1 thing.
Yeah, it's a big change. Like they basically hit reset on how they're even approaching AI models now.
And the big thing everyone's talking about, this thinking before responding. Have you had a chance to look into that?
Oh, yeah, the chain of thought prompting. It's actually really cool.
So for people who haven't heard about this, what's the deal?
Well, it's like imagine instead of just looking for a quick answer, the AI actually thinks through the problem step by step.
Oh, like a person would.
Exactly. So it takes a bit longer.
Right, because it's actually thinking it through.
But it gets way more complex stuff, right? Like there's that example they use, asking on the R's are in strawberry.
Which, honestly, I'd have to think about for a second.
Right. Older models would get that wrong. But OpenAI 01 nailed it every time. And not just that, even crazy hard math problems, it's way more accurate.
Which, for people who use AI for, well, anything really, that's a game changer.
Totally. If it can reason through problems like that, think about the possibilities.
Okay, but let's be real. This level of AI can't be cheap.
You're telling me?
Like for developers using their API, those costs got to add up fast.
Yeah, that's a big question, isn't it? And it kind of ties into another theme this week, efficiency. OpenAI keeps mentioning optimized compute usage.
So like not just throwing more processing power at the problem.
Exactly. Think of it like a marathon runner, right? You don't want to sprint out the gate. You got to pace yourself, use your energy strategically. And that's what they're going for with OpenAI's year one.
Interesting. So less about raw power and more about using it smarter.
Exactly. And, DeepMind.
Yeah, they were the news this week too, right?
They did some research on this whole efficiency thing. Compute optimal scaling, they call it.
Catchy.
Right. But get this, they found that sometimes a smaller AI model, if it's using its compute power efficiently, can actually outperform a much larger model.
Wait, seriously? Like David and Goliath, but with AI?
No joke. They even tested it on some really hard high school math problems.
Just to make sure it wasn't a fluke.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the smaller, more efficient model won.
Okay, now that's just cool. Sizes and everything, huh?
It's changing the game.
So, speaking of different approaches, Apple had their event.
Big news every year.
It is. Although, I gotta say, not a ton on the AI front this time, at least not compared to OpenAI.
Apple's playing it a bit more low-key, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, they're all about slowly integrating AI into what they already have, making it seamless for users.
Which is their whole thing, right? User experience is king.
Totally. And don't get me wrong, they had some cool updates, smarter email tools, photo editing, all nice. But the one that got me was the new AirPods feature.
Which one? They had a few.
You can answer calls just by nodding or shaking your head.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that one.
Isn't that wild?
It is pretty futuristic. Instead of talking to Siri, you just nod.
Like something out of Star Trek.
Right. And it's all happening right there on the device.
Which is kind of their thing, right? Apple's all about keeping your data private.
Big time. It's a big selling point for them, especially these days when everyone's worried about privacy. But then there's the whole private cloud compute thing they're pushing.
Right, because some AI stuff needs a ton of processing power. Way more than your phone can handle.
Exactly. So they're basically saying, hey, we can give you access to these crazy powerful AI features, but it'll cost you.
Which, I get it. Business has got a business. But then I saw that article in The Verge. iPhone 16 will ship as a work in progress. Some of the AI stuff they were hyping isn't even ready yet.
Yeah, it sounds like they're going to roll some features out later, like that visual intelligence thing.
Isn't that supposed to be like next year?
Something like that.
So you're paying a premium now for the promise of AI later.
Yeah.
Makes you wonder.
A little bit, yeah. Like how much of this is actual tech versus just, marketing hype?
Exactly. Maybe I'm just cynical, though.
Well, it's a valid point. It's tough, right? Balancing, pushing the boundaries and making sure what you're offering actually works for people right now.
Totally. And it makes you appreciate what some of these smaller companies are doing. They're not trying to boil the ocean. They're focused on specific problems. And I kind of dig that. Like Mistral AI with their Pixtrel model. Have you had a chance to play with that?
Yeah, I actually checked it out this morning. Really impressive.
Right. What makes it so different is that it's good at both image stuff and text stuff. It's not like it's amazing at one and then sucks at the other.
Exactly. Usually you have to sacrifice one for the other, but Pixtrel seems to handle both really well.
And it's open source.
Yeah.
Anyone can use it, build on it, improve it. Talk about democratizing AI.
Huge win for open source in general.
Totally. And they've got these demos right. identifying Bill Gates in a picture, figuring out how much storage is left on an iPhone just from a screenshot. It's wild.
Multimodal models are the future.
Multimodal meaning?
It means that AI can understand different kinds of information, images, text, sounds even, all at once. It's not limited to just one thing.
So instead of having like a separate AI for understanding images and another one for text, you have one that can do it all.
Exactly. And that opens up so many possibilities. Imagine an AI that can not only understand what you're saying, but also what you're showing it.
Okay, that is seriously cool.
Yeah.
It's like if Siri could actually see what I was talking about. And because Pixtrel's open source, who knows what crazy applications people will come up with.
The possibilities are pretty much endless.
It's exciting, but also a little bit, I don't know, intimidating. Like AI is getting really good really fast.
Tell me about it. And it's not just image recognition. Look at what's happening with coding. Replit Agent, for example.
Dude, that thing is a game changer. It's like having a coding wizard by your side.
Right. It's not just about writing code faster, it's about the entire process. Setting up the project, configuring everything, even deploying it. It's like having a personal coding assistant.
And it's not just for experts, right? You can basically talk to it in plain English, tell it what you want to build, and it just does it.
That's the beauty of it. It lowers the barrier to entry for people who always wanted to learn to code but were intimidated by the technical stuff.
Totally. And for experienced coders, it frees them up to focus on the more creative, high-level stuff.
Exactly. It's a win-win.
Okay, but here's the thing that always makes me a little nervous with this kind of tech. What about accuracy and bugs? I mean, it's AI writing code, right? Can we really trust it?
It's a valid concern. Replit Agent is still in development, so it's not perfect. It's essential to review the code it generates and test it thoroughly.
So trust, but verify.
Always. Especially if you're dealing with anything complex or sensitive.
Makes sense. Which, speaking of sensitive, we got to talk about data privacy.
Huge issue.
Replit Agent has access to your code, right? Your projects, basically, your digital DNA. That's a little scary, no?
It's understandable to be concerned. Replit has addressed this, though. They say that any code you write using their platform is kept private and protected by their privacy policies.
So, no selling it off to the highest bidder.
They've stated they don't do that. Plus, they use industry-standard encryption to protect user data.
Okay, good to know. Still, it's always a good reminder to be careful about what you share online, especially when it comes to something as potentially valuable as code.
Absolutely. Always read the fine print.
I don't know about you, but my head's spinning a little bit.
It's a lot to take in, for sure.
We've got AI writing code, solving crazy math problems, even responding to head nods. It's like something out of a movie.
It really is incredible when you think about how far things have come, even just in the past year.
Seriously. It feels like we're on the edge of something huge.
Yeah.
But I'm not even sure I can picture what that looks like.
Well, if you ask me, the biggest takeaway from everything we've discussed today, all these different companies, different approaches, it all points to this idea of AI becoming more than just a tool. It's becoming more like a partner.
Oh, interesting. So less like we're using a really fancy calculator and more like we're collaborating with, I don't know, like a really skilled apprentice.
Exactly. And that raises a whole other set of questions, right? Like, how do we manage this relationship? Where does the responsibility lie when AI is so involved in the decision-making process?
Yeah. Are we headed toward a future where AI is calling the shots? Or is there a way to find that balance where humans and AI are both playing to their strengths?
$1 million question, right? And there's no easy answer. But the important thing is that we're having this conversation now while AI is still evolving. The choices we make today will determine what that future looks like.
It's a lot of responsibility. But I like your analogy earlier about shaping a river. We can't control the flow of water, but we can influence its direction.
Exactly. And I think that's what we're all trying to do here, right? Figure out how to guide this incredible technology in a way that benefits everyone.
Well said. And on that note, I think we've navigated the wrap-ins of this week's AI news pretty successfully. At least I hope so. What do you think?
Definitely. We've covered a lot of ground today, from the mind-blowing to the, well, maybe slightly worrying.
The good, the bad, and the potentially AI overlordy. Gotta love it.
It's what keeps things interesting.
It really does. But hey, that's the beauty of a deep dive like this. It's about exploring, asking questions, and maybe realizing we don't have all the answers yet.
But the journey is part of the fun.
Exactly. So to all our listeners out there, thank you for coming along for the ride. We hope this has sparked your curiosity because the conversation doesn't end here. Check out the sources we talked about, do some exploring of your own, and most importantly, keep those AI questions coming.
The future is waiting to be discovered, and who knows what amazing AI-powered breakthroughs are just around the corner.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Until next time, stay curious, everyone.